Hey, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Xamarin Code Hour, which I have actually done it to you again. I've changed the name of this show. It used to be called the Proj Code Hour, which is in the background on the slide there, and I need to update that. And it was once upon a time called the Proj Show, and that wasn't so good. But it's the same basic premise. This is me, Lee Richardson, doing a presentation to you every Tuesday night, and it's the same content, which is building out an iOS and an Android application in Xamarin in real time so that you can get online and heckle me, give me a hard time, tell me I'm doing it wrong, and we can build something fun together. So that is the idea, and I'm going to continue doing this for a while at least, and going to focus on Xamarin. So why not update the show name to match? So this is going to be the 5th episode. In the first 4 episodes now, we have built out an iOS and an Android application that's a calculator, and it's got some buttons. You can click the buttons and they go back to a view model. It's using a MVVM pattern, model view model, roughly, and we're doing it all by hand to date. We're going to eventually build in some frameworks and put in a framework in there, but I think it's really important to understand the foundation. Right? So in order to move this forward, I think the next thing that we need to do is implement some buttons, the plus buttons, some minus buttons, and start digging into that. So without further ado, I did do one thing, and I don't normally do a little bit of work, but let's move back to the develop branch here. Between the last episode and the current episode, I did just implement the remaining buttons 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did that in the Android application, and all I did here was to follow the pattern that I had been following, which is to have buttons 4 and retrieve them back from the AXML file, set them to a field, save the field, and then in a subscribe events and an unsubscribe events, just hook those up to a method which does something, right? So simple enough, and that's where we are right now. So the next thing to do is probably to implement a plus button. And so if we go back into the calculator view model, if we follow a test-driven development kind of model, a TDD model, we're going to implement some tests which do the plus button, and then going to implement the remaining functionality in the view model itself. So if we go to the calculator view, oh, hang on. I think I got some feedback here at some point that we should be at 225, and that kind of worked well for everybody. Okay, so we've got some press and number, we've got a press clear, and a press equals. What we need is a press plus. So let's just do a public void press plus, and right now it doesn't do anything. Let's try and make some failing unit tests. I really love this pattern of the calculator view model tests. I love this model of doing test-driven development. Not always, but especially when I'm working in view models, I like to write my tests first. Can't tell you the number of times that I've written something which I've expected it to fail, and it's actually passed. And that's a really interesting scenario because that's usually an indication that something has gone wrong in a way that you wouldn't otherwise catch it. So that's a scenario that happens sometimes. That's really handy. Okay, I'm following a BDD style naming for the tests, which is kind of like cucumber, but just in a method name. And so we're going to do given 1 plus, how about just that? How about given 1 and plus, and when press 1, then what do we get? Man, I don't know. Let's try it. Okay, so you got 1 plus, oops, hang on, that's not right. If we say 1 plus, when we press 1, we get 1. Yeah, we should expect that to happen. Then display 1. not 11, right? I bet we're going to get 11 if we do this right now. So something like, well, something a little like this, except with this being a press plus. Right? So if we 1 plus, when we press 1, then we would expect to see 1. So what we're not doing right now with our press plus is we needed to do it just a little bit like clear, which is we need to set the current number equal to 0. Oh, that worked. Yeah, that worked. Okay, good enough. And now let's do one more just like this. When we have a given 1 plus 1, when press equals, then display 2, right? So if we press 1, and then we press plus, and then we press 1, when we press equals, we expect to get a 2 back. Sound good? And it's failing because equals right now isn't actually doing anything, and what it probably should be doing, rather than just setting the current number to 0, is we should probably have a stack, right? So we need a stored number. We need a stored number, and when we pressed plus at this point, we should have pushed the current number onto the stack. So stored number equals current number. Yeah. And now when we press equals, the current number should be equal to the stored number plus the current number. Ooh, it turned green. All right. Well, just as a reminder from a previous episode, this is NCrunch. NCrunch is turning these green whenever the tests pass, and it's a wonderful way to get super fast feedback. And man, do I love getting super fast feedback. That means so much to me, and that is one of the reasons that NCrunch is worth spending a little bit of money for. I would recommend it. Okay. Do we want to go a little bit further? We're gonna go crazy. It might be worth going just a little bit more functionality here. We're 10 minutes into the show, and I think it's worth just spending a little bit more time with maybe if you press 1 plus 1, and if you do 1, let's just finish out the plus button, shall we? So I get CE and clear everything. Is that what CE? Anyway, if we do 1 plus 1, when we hit plus the second time, that's essentially doing an equals. So let's do this. 1 plus 1, and if we hit press plus, I expect it to see 2, and I bet that's not going to happen. So when we say given 1 plus 1, when we press plus, then display 2. That's not going to work. And in this case, if we're setting the current number to 0, we're hard coding it to 0, and I don't think that's good. I think what we want to do is let's try this. Let's do an if statement to begin with. If stored number, let's do that up front, right? Okay. If stored number is equal to 0, then current number is equal to 0, else press equals. Can we do like that? Why didn't that work? Because we didn't update the display. Oh no, press equals should have updated the display. In fact, this is white, and we would like this stored number is equals 0. So the first time it should have come in here. And the second time we pressed plus, well, let's step through this. The second time we pressed plus, break into the first failing test on this line is one of the little things that I love about NCrunch. So we're going to F11. We set the stored number equal to, we set it equal to the current number. The current number should have been 1. Why wasn't the current number 1? Because we just updated it. Because we just updated it. How about if, you know what, this is, let's go back on this. Is that a cop-out or what? All right, I'm just not going to worry about this for right now. We're going to just go back to keeping this real simple. Because there's some cooler stuff to show in just a second. What? I press equals. What did I do wrong? Actually had it working, and then I broke it all, and there. Good enough for now. We can worry about these details later. Okay, what we need to do though is actually implement it. Now that we're 13 minutes into the show, let's go back to the calculator. And I'm assuming you guys are watching in at least 1.5 speed, because man, this is just needing a little speeding up, right? I don't know. That's how I watch all my YouTube videos anyway. Let's see. We need to go. Let's do the Android application. So back in the main activity world, we now need to retrieve the plus button. So we'll do something like find, oh no, it's a button. We want to do, what's it called, plus, something like that. And so we'll say save the plus button into a field called plus, and then we're going to, on resume, we're going to do plus dot click plus equals plus on click. Seems like a good name for a method for when you're clicking on plus. And don't forget, what's the one thing you always do when you create an event subscription? Oh, you called it. You create an event unsubscription. All right, and now that we have that, we need to invoke our ViewModel.press plus, and here's the thing I want to get to in this episode, and that is I've now copy and pasted this code twice. When I get it into the iOS world, I've done it 3 times, and as we do each additional button, you can imagine that's really kind of duplicative. It's doing that, going to do that a lot. That's what we're trying to get to this episode, is how to solve that problem, and I'll get to it in just a second. For now, let's see if it works. So we pressed plus, and I don't think we need to do anything else, right? Let's just run it and see. And I have my Genymotion over here, and I just hit F5 without even thinking, but yes, we can see right here it's going to our Genymotion Nexus 5 API 22, which is a little bit older, but it should be just fine for what we're trying to accomplish. All right, it is deploying. If we watch this output, we'll see that the jar is not time-stamped. I don't think that's going to bother anybody. Not going to bother me. Got some weird artifacting there. Oh, wait, that's my iPhone. That's not going to help us. That is, there we go. Okay, let's try this. It's ready, 1. Oh, sure, okay. 1 plus 1 equals. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, we haven't done anything. Actually, speaking of wah, 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 can I do this fast enough to make this joke even remotely? Oh yeah, there we go. I get my wah, wah, wah for the evening. That is, got to advertise that because I do make a little bit of money selling these things. This is a Siren of Shame. You hook it up to your continuous integration server. I sell these on sirenofshame.com. Hook it up to your continuous integration server, and there's a piece of software there that checks if your CI server is broken. If it's broken, it sends a notification back down to the USB, and everybody on the team is like, who broke the build? It can be a lot of fun. Some people consider Siren of Shame to be negative, but it's not. It's actually a lot of fun. There's a team building element to it. The software has gamification built in. It has achievements, has reputation. You get achievements for things like fixing other people's broken builds, and there's stats and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. The software is free and open source, and that little Siren is $40 for the small one, and there's a big one which is $90. It's got lots of LEDs on it. Okay, there's my little advertisement for the evening. More importantly, let's do something on equals. More specifically, we need a ViewModel. Actually, this is an easy one. We just do ViewModel.press equals, and then we update the display. Yet again, we're now doing it 3 times, and I think things are going to work a lot better this time. It's probably going to go faster. That's good to know. Oh, look at that. Jumped right up. And now we should be able to do 1 plus 1 equals 2. Wow! We've added 1 and 1. Oh, very, very exciting. Okay, so that's cool. That is probably a check-in point. Let's call that we can now add 1 plus 1 in Android. And we've got our new tests. We've got our source tree has frozen. I really love source tree, but it is really buggy on Windows. It actually works an awful lot better on Mac for some reason. Sometimes as a Windows user, I feel like a second-class citizen, which is weird to even say in 2017. Commit. There we go. Okay, the test. We got 3 new tests. We have a main activity that is implementing the plus and the equals, and the ViewModel is implementing a very naive plus, and it's implementing an equals. That looks good to me. We should probably switch over, double check this works in iOS world. It won't take long. Bear with me. Speed up if you want to. It's time to go to 2-speed. Everybody change your playback settings if you're not live. And in the meantime, I am going to go over to the main view controller, and I am going to do, here's our view did appear, and we're going to do a plus button plus dot touch up inside. As you may recall, there's slightly weird method numbers in iOS world. Names are just a little strange, but you get used to it. It's good enough. And there should be a view did disappear. View did disappear, and these are getting too far apart. I don't like it. This guy should really, I don't know. I'm doing Control Shift Alt. This is a resharper little trick here, and Control Shift Alt down little resharper trick there for you. And on the plus up, we should do ViewModel.press plus, like that. And let's see, does that look like what we did for plus? Is that, oh, then we had to update the display. So now we main label dot text equals ViewModel. Oh goodness, I just hit some keyboard shortcut and something terrible happened. Are you all still there? You're all still with me. Oh good, good. Okay, there we go. And this was .ViewModel.display. And this main label should be called DisplayLabel. That was Control RR, a little more resharper magic, and I apologize. Actually, I don't really apologize very much. I'm just going to use resharper keyboard shortcuts because it allows me to move quickly, and I think that keeps things more interesting for you. So now we have that. We need an equals button on touch up inside. And it looks like we actually implemented, oh, we just did a little counter thing that was sort of a sort of proving that things worked. So now we're going to do ViewModel dot press equals, and then we're going to do a ViewModel dot no, we'll just do this. Let's go over here, and that should be enough to get us to work on iOS. And now we want to build for an iPhone simulator. We want to debug build. We want to, how about for an iPhone 6s? And it'll be interesting to see how long this takes. Sometimes you can get these builds and they'll just go super fast and it's really nice. And other times you're sitting there and you're waiting and you're thinking, man, do I need to tell a joke? Although that turned to orange super fast, which is an awfully good sign. So I might be able to save you guys from one of my terrible jokes. All right, I think this one is ready to go. Let's try 1 plus 1 equals. Wow, look how fast that was. Super fast. Fantastic. You may now return to 1.5 speed, and I am going to commit that. Oh, I did change the name because I change it from main label to display label. Yeah, that's correct. And the display label, yep, change the name. Number, oh, we moved this down below. It's actually still identical. The number button didn't change, even though it looks like it did. We did a button plus and a button plus, and then we did a button plus. Yep, that looks good. And the button number on touch up inside was identical, and then we implemented the equals button. Yep, that looks good. Ship it. Ship that thing. All right, now here's where things get interesting, and this is where a MVVM purist would say, Lee, what are you doing? This looks absolutely terrible, because we're having to repeat ourselves here, and we've repeated ourselves here, and we've repeated ourselves one more time. There should be 3 places. Yeah, here. So when you hit plus, when you hit the number, and when you hit the equals, you're always just updating that display. A much cleaner way to do this is rather than pulling the value down, having the view model push it down every time it makes a change. And the nice thing about that is you can do a lot of interesting things. Like you can have your view model do a task.delay for 1 second if you wanted to. It's just something you could do. You could have delay for 1 second and then change the display and push it down after a second. It sounds like something you wouldn't want to do, but a time that you would want to do that is if you were making a web request. Imagine you make a web request out somewhere and you come back. Now you want to update the display or do something along those lines, and you can push it back down to the client. So that's a really nice benefit of using this approach that I'm about to show you, which is really a critical part of the MVVM pattern, and that is to have an INotifyPropertyChanged. And so in order to do that, let's start with a naive implementation of it where we say we want an INotifyPropertyChanged, and like that. And this interface, if we go and take a look inside of here, it's actually fairly simple. All it says is I need to have an event called PropertyChanged with these PropertyChanged event handler arguments, and part of those arguments are going to be what is the thing that changed. Well, there's resharper. You can implement it, I guess. We can implement it. And then I think resharper is going to pop in and say, hey, would you like some annotations? The annotations just help resharper to recognize when you're using it. Let's see, they're required for full, you don't need it. It gives you, whatever. Yes, we want it. This is a wonderful feature that they implemented in C# 6 or something. I don't know exactly. Can't remember the details, but you can put this attribute on, and whenever anybody calls into INotifyPropertyChanged with the string it's not a string, it's a string that is the method name that has changed. Instead, this becomes an optional parameter, and even though this says default it to null, because you throw this caller member name attribute on here, it's going to use, I don't know if it happens at compile time or if it happens at runtime. I think it happens at compile time, that it gets compiled in. If you go back and look at the intermediary language, the IL language of what gets compiled, I about guarantee you that it's converting it into a string. Probably don't have time for that tonight. And then it's just invoking our method. Let's do it. And we have the benefit of using resharper here. I hope you can forgive me, but we can change this to a property with a backing field, to a computed property. Replace display to a... Normally, you can say convert to a... Well, all right. I guess normally it gives you a little helper to do this for you. I don't know why it didn't, but it doesn't matter. Normally the method here is going to look a little bit like this. It says if display is equal to value, then return. And that little check there is kind of important. It just says if nothing changed, don't do anything. Otherwise, and that's important because if someone sets the same value over and over and over again, we don't want to send a whole bunch of notifications back to the UI. Now we want to do the notify, is it invoke notify property? No, what was it called? It was called onPropertyChanged. OnPropertyChanged, and we don't even need to pass in a property name. This is going to work. And yes, we can still make that private. That's fine. Now here we go. This is where the magic happens. I hope you don't feel like this is more work than it's worth, but we're gonna get around to making it less work. I'm showing you the long way first, and then I'm gonna go back in and show you ways to make this even nicer. But we have to have a little bit of pain here first. Let's go back to Android world. And in Android world, when we're subscribing to events, we want to subscribe to the ViewModel's property changed whenever something changes. So that was that event that we got when we implemented that interface. And so we need ViewModel.PropertyChanged plus equals. Yeah, do that. And what are we going to do in there? Don't know yet, but what do you always do when you subscribe to an event? You always unsubscribe from an event. And I bet if you were at 1.5 speed, you had no idea what I just said. And I about guarantee you that if you were at 1.0 speed, you probably still didn't understand what I just said. But that's okay. What we're doing here is we are remembering to unsubscribe from the ViewModel property changed. Now, what do we do inside of here? We need to know what was it that changed. Right now, we've only got one thing which was going to change, but there could be others. So it's very important to do a check, and you get that check on the property changed event args. So if property changed event args dot property name equals equals, and this is what you used to have to do. You used to have to do this crap. But man, C# just keeps getting better and better and better. And instead of saying, what, display, right? You used to have to do that, but in C#, in C#7, I think, they introduced the name of. And name of is a method that at compile time converts what you put in there using probably some kind of compile time reflection, probably Roslyn actually, and converts it into a string. So now you can do ViewModel.display, and this name of thing turns it into a string. It's really, really nice. Love that feature. And so what do we do in this case? We set display.text equal to ViewModel.display. We're basically, again, we're just removing these lines of code down here. That's the whole point of this check-in. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. And we're going to get rid of this. If this worked correctly, we'll be able to get rid of all three of those and a whole bunch of others that will be forthcoming when we implement the other operations. So I hope that gives you a sense of why we're doing it. And if I hit F5, do I have enough confidence to hit F5? Oh, I'm going to do it. No, wait, that's not what I want to do. Hang on. I did all this work for Android, not iOS. So we need to switch our main project over to Android and run it in Genymotion Nexus 5. And now we wait for 20 minutes for it to deploy. Hopefully it won't be that long. So well, I guess after we've done this, we're going to re-implement it in iOS. That shouldn't take very long. And let's see if this works. We'll be able to see immediately when we press the 1 button, right? So what we're expecting to see is when I hit 1, it should have gone into the view model. The view model should then go over and implement, call an event, and the event will notify back down into the view, and it'll then update the display in here. What do you think? Is it going to work? What? that was not expected. Did we even get into there? No. Oh, we did get into there. Display is 1. Oh, I know the mistake. Do you know the mistake I just made? I do. We should really update the display and then call on PropertyChanged. I think that's going to make things. A lot better. Normally, I'll just go into a given method and right-click and ReSharper will just write all that code for me, which is kind of handy, except that sometimes making mistakes like this is really handy because you get to see how it works behind the scenes. Hopefully you were thinking along with me as I was doing this and saying, Lee, you've messed up. Someone out there was screaming at me, Lee, you've messed up. You've got this wrong. You've got it all wrong. You don't know what the heck you're doing. Well, I'd agree with that. 1 + 2 equals. It sure does. Fantastic. All right, that's a commit. And then we'll implement this in iOS. And then I'm going to show you Fody. Fody's really cool. Hang with me here. All right, we have implemented in the main activity. Well, let's do the view model first. In the view model, we have implemented a. Why does that look all different? I didn't make all those changes. Well, I don't know. Anyway, yes, I did make a display, and I set. Yep, I did all that code. That's good. I guess it just didn't do a very good diff. And then that was the private field that was associated with it. Yep, did that right. We added the event. That was all generated for us by ReSharper, but it's pretty straightforward stuff. This was this random stuff ReSharper put in, whatever, I don't care. I want to put in a bunch of annotations. And I think maybe I forgot to put on an annotation, which is why it didn't generate that code for me, whatever. Then in the main activity, we said ViewModel property changed. We created an event. We did this whenever the property name is equal to display, then update display. Yep, that's right, we sure did. And the benefit was we removed these 3 lines of code. And it looks like we've added more code than we've removed, but it gets better. So just bear with me. I can commit all that. That all looks good. We implemented INotifyPropertyChanged in Android is good, and now we do the same thing in iOS. And I've mentioned this in a previous show, but I'm a really big fan of making sure things work in both iOS and Android, and doing them back and forth, and not getting siloed into just doing iOS and not getting siloed into just doing Android. Instead, we want the ViewModel.PropertyChanged and there we go, ViewModel property changed, and Control Shift Alt down to move that down to the bottom. And let's not forget, every time we subscribe from an event, to unsubscribe from an event. And if we forget to do this, hopefully someone in the audience will remind me, or doing a code review, someone will remind me. Code review is a great time to check for things like that. Now, in the ViewModel on property changed, we're going to, well, we can pretty much just copy and paste in this code, can't we? DisplayLabel.text. Yeah, that looks good. And now we can get rid of the DisplayLabel.text equals view. Actually, probably find this. It's probably something we can search and replace. No, we like that one. We don't want like that one. And we don't like that one. And now we're just doing it once. And if I hit F5, when I run the iOS app in an iPhone simulator and an iPhone 6S, I would expect this to work, and about guarantee you it's gonna. And then we just double check what it is that we just did. We did a property change, we did a property change plus and a property change minus. We did the property changed implementation there, and we did we got rid of, and the big benefit was we got rid of these 3 lines of code down here. Now we can say 1 plus 2 equals 3. All right, great, that's still working. So we implement INotifyPropertyChanged in iOS, and now for the cool stuff. Now for the cool stuff. This is what I teased everybody with in my Twitter post, advertising episode number 5, and that was we're going to do Fody. So Fody is a really cool, it's called a property, it's called a, this is it here. Fody is, it bills itself as an extensible tool for weaving .NET assemblies. And if you go in, it's basically it's doing cross-cutting concerns across your app. So anywhere you have code that you want to do consistent changes everywhere, and instead of copying and pasting the same code, you can use Fody. It's got a plugin system. It's got a really cool plugin system where you can have a whole bunch of different things, and they've got a list down here of all these cool plugins that they've got. So for example, they have like a null checker, null guard. Yeah, this one's cool. So they can add null argument checks to all of your methods. If you have like a not null attribute, it'll just automatically put in the code that says if it is null, then throw an argument null exception, which is really cool. Like you don't have to write all that code. You can just throw in this null guard. But what is probably the best feature of it at all is called the property changed. Yeah, here we go. Property changed. This injects an INotifyPropertyChanged code into properties. So if you're looking at the code in the calculated view model, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, Lee, are you telling me that I have to write that crap for every single method in my view model so it's going to push down stuff? That is a huge pain in the butt. I mean, that's like a ton of just boilerplate, crappy code that just, it's plumbing. I don't want to have to do that, right? Well, if you're willing to accept a little magic, then you don't have to. The magic is Fody, and here's how we're going to implement it. We're going to pull down into our portable class library. We're going to add a reference, manage NuGet packages, and we want, well, if there's you can get Fody by itself. There's Fody, but that doesn't give you any of the plugins. What we really want is the property changed. PropertyChanged.Fody, yes. So all of the Fody plugins are like plugin name.Fody. So this is PropertyChanged.Fody. We're going to install the latest stable version of this. Okay. And what it's going to do is it's going to look for every single class that implements INotifyPropertyChanged, and it is going to allow you to just go back to get set and delete all of that. Now, if this worked, I should just be able to hit F5 and it's just going to work, right? A couple of things to be aware of. It's added a FodyWeavers.xml file in here into the root, and this is basically a list of your plugins. So we have one plugin active right now, which is the property changed, and you'll notice in our references that there is a property changed reference, Fody.PropertyChanged, and what's this is doing, and I wish I could tell you the details of how it's working, but basically at compiler time, probably using Roslyn, it is injecting itself into the compiler process and putting in the code that we just deleted for every single public property on a class that implements INotifyPropertyChanged in the mobile calc portable class library. I'm just going to hit F5. This is going to work. I'm telling you, this is going to work. And it's going to be a little anticlimactic because you're going to just see it work the way it used to, but the beauty is we've just deleted a lot of boilerplate code. And if you're willing to accept that magic, really, really is nice. Oh, it worked. It worked. 1 plus 9 equals 10. Oh, that's great to see. That is great to see. Okay, I think that's probably worth a check-in right there. Right then, we have a CS Proj, and let's just take a look at what it did. I love going back over to Git and just taking a look at what's changed. So we've got a NuGet package import stamp. I have no idea what that is. We did add in our Fody Weavers XML. I showed you that earlier. Because this is the first time adding any NuGet packages, we now have a packages.config down here, which is just going to include Fody and PropertyChanged.Fody. That makes sense so far. And then we're going to include a reference to the property changed DLL here. And probably we're going to implement ensure NuGet package build imports. Oh, that's just a NuGet-y thing. Yeah, that's just a warning if, oh, no, if Fody, whatever. Anyway, more importantly, we just deleted these lines of code. We went down from 21 to 11 lines of code with the addition of just a couple things. Okay. That all looks good. Now, you might be looking at You might be looking at this code down here and saying, well, do we still need that? I don't think we do, actually. I think we can get rid of this code. And then I think we can get rid of this too by putting this in a base class. Real nice idea is to have a base class for all your view models. Now's probably a great time to go ahead and implement that. We're going to have a ViewModel base or base ViewModel. I think ViewModel base. I think you're supposed to put base at the end. I can never remember. There's a standard out there somewhere. In fact, someone come on live and tell me that I need to do it. I forgot to pull up my dashboard to see if anyone's been chatting with me. I sincerely apologize for that, although it didn't look like anyone was on tonight. Nope. All right, so we're going to just put in an abstract class because we don't want anyone to instantiate this thing, but we do want this to inherit from, well, INotifyPropertyChanged on the base class, and this should still work. And then we should pull in this event here. Now, when we get around to implementing a real framework, and I think we're getting close, such as MVVM cross or simple MVVM, easy MVVM, MVVM Lite, such as MVVM Lite, they're going to give you all of this functionality for free. They're going to give you a base class, a ViewModel base class that you're going to need to inherit. It's going to look a lot more complicated than this right here, but it's going to give you a lot of benefits. One of the benefits it's often going to give you is thread safety, because we're not really worrying about thread safety in this context, but it's not really a problem for us yet. But good ViewModel base, real handy thing to have. And ooh, we get rid of all of our using statements. We can make that private. Initialize field from constructor. Why do you want to do that? String display. Do we use display? Wait. Yeah, we used it. Oh, we don't need display anymore because we converted it back into a property there. Very nice. Okay. Now we've cleaned this up a lot. Should we check it back on the iPhone? Sure, let's check it back on the iPhone. And if this works, we will want to tell everybody that we have introduced a ViewModel base. And moved property changed event into it. So, because really all of our view models are going to want an INotifyPropertyChanged. Oh, here we go. It must have finished. 1 plus 7 equals 8. That makes me happy to see. It still worked. Everything's good. We can use a ViewModel base, and we can stage all, and let's commit that. Well, let's do this. We've got 10 more minutes, and I think it would be fun to. I'm tempted to struggle with that problem I was having with the plus, or we could just implement a minus. I don't know. Let's do minus. Let's see if negatives work. So just do a little bit of. So I want to fix that. I'm going to fix this. It'd be so nice to see. So where were we? We did this in the beginning of the episode. Now we've got time to actually finish it. If we press 1, and then we press plus, and then we press 1. Okay. Press 1, and then we press plus, and then we press 1, and then we press plus. When we press plus again, it should display 2. Yes, that's right. 1 plus 1 plus should have displayed 2. And look at this up here. We're going to need to get that too, and that's going to be, that's going to be kind of fun. 1 plus 1 plus, and we should see 2. And so in this case, we need to do, let's do something real simple. We'll say if stored number is equal to 0, then do that, else do something else. Right, because the first time it goes in here, the stored number will be 0, so it'll be going through here, and the second time it'll be going here, and so now in this case we press equals. Okay. I don't think that's quite good enough, but it did actually pass the test, so that's nice. Let's write in one more failing test, which I guarantee you is not going to work. And then if we have given 1 plus 1 I think the problem with this right now is if we hit 1 plus 1 plus, and we hit 1, I would expect to see 1, right? When we press 1, then displays 1. I bet that's not going to work. So we're going to press, okay, given 1 plus 1 plus, when we press 1 again, I would have expected to see 1. It failed, and I bet it's displaying 21, right? 21, you with me? You with me? It's displaying 21 because we didn't clear out the, we didn't clear out the current number back to 0. I think that's right. It's making the tests pass. What more do you want? All right, we've got about 5 more minutes. Maybe we got time for minus. That would be cool. Okay, let's do it twos. Mix it up. 2 plus 2. We expect to see 4. Aha. 2. And now we expect to see 6. Well, it needs a little work. I don't know how far down this rabbit hole do we go. I would like to actually, if no one's going to object, I'd like to actually finish this out. And that is because pressing equals wasn't quite enough. Well, let's call this a commit because it's better than it was. And we'll need to write another failing test, ideally. Fixed the test with the 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 or, you know what, I mean, we've got an awfully nice method name here. How about we just call it that? Sure. That's what we did. And while we're at it, we did that. I don't need to do any more thinking. I've got perfectly good method names. There we go. Stage all. All right, 4 minutes remaining. Let's see if we can finish this plus thing out. It'd be really nice because minus and times and all are going to be real similar to this. So given 1 plus 1, let's do twos. Given 2 plus 2 plus, let's see what we're expecting. We wanted to get a 2, 4. We wanted to, what was it not doing? The mobile calc. There we go. There's still so much to implement. Okay, we did 1. No, we did 2. I didn't do clear. All right, we're doing it with ones then. 1 plus 1 plus will give me 2. 1 plus 1 plus, gosh. One plus 1 plus should have gone to 3. Yep. 1 plus should be 3. Okay, so now you're going to see me. Now you're going to see me struggle a little bit. So given 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus, when press plus, then display 3. Okay, 1 plus 1 plus 1, and then plus, and this should be 3. And it's going to be 2, right? Yep, but was 2. So the problem was that at the very least in this case here, pressing equals, we set the current number equal to 0, but we should have allowed the current number to 0. We do need to set the current number to 0. So pressing equals updated the current number, updated the display. Oh, we need to update the stored number. That's the problem. So, but this should have updated the stored number. No. What's updating the stored number? Stored number equals, this is the problem. Don't we still need to do that? The stored number, right after having pressed equals, we should have set it to the current number, then, boom, that should be right. Hey, woo! All right, that's really exciting. Pardon my enthusiasm. I didn't think that was going to work. And I gotta just say, like, when you get that kind of feedback, fast feedback cycles when you're writing code, and you see it turn green that quickly, it brings the fun of software development back again. Because I don't know about if you remember the first time you wrote your first line of code and saw results. Do you remember that feeling of like, yes, I just did something awesome. I just made something out of nothing. That feeling is comes back to me again personally anyway when I'm writing like ViewModel logic like that, and I see the results instantaneously rather than hitting F5 and waiting for like 10 seconds or 20 seconds or longer. That kills that feeling, that fun, I love software development feeling. So I don't know, this should probably just be an infomercial for nCrunch. They don't give me any money. Nobody gives me any money, but you could if you wanted. You could buy me a Siren. All right, let's do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus. Ah, yay, it's actually working. And if we say 2 equals, we'll see 10. Oh, that's great. That is fantastic. All right, well, that definitely is a show. It's 10 o'clock. Eastern time, and I'm going to call that a successful show. We've done some great work together, and by together I mean no one's actually on live tonight, but that's okay. And hopefully that was all we need to do. Commit that. Looked good. That was our test. That was our implementation. Yep. Can't complain about that. And I think that's a show. So I should probably switch back to this view. And thank you for watching. And I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something about Fody, about INotifyPropertyChanged, about MVVM, about how to do best practices in a mobile world. And if you've enjoyed the show, I would highly encourage you, please subscribe to my channel. It makes a big difference. You'll get notifications when I'm about to go live. You'll get notifications when shows publish. But more importantly, if I get enough followers or subscribers, then I can update the channel name, which would be really nice, because for some reason YouTube forced on me to be Lee Richardson 200. I'd really rather be L. Pritchard or something like that. Anyway, so hope you've enjoyed. Please subscribe. You can also connect up with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I've got all those things listed down below. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Have a wonderful week. I will talk to you later.